So delighted to welcome into the How to Cut It pod shed. Their first ever time that I've had guests in here. So I'm as excited as probably as I've ever been excited in doing a podcast. So welcome along, Paul Fensome and Katie Howarth. Welcome to the sofa.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So today, lots of going to be going into, we're going to be learning about hairdressing as a career for our listeners so they can understand what it is. Is it more than a job? Yeah, what does it involve? The recruitment, how can we retain people in there? I also want to learn about the Wella Colour Higher level diploma as well, find out. But let's get a bit more background to the pair of you, if that's okay. So I'm going to start with Paul. Just give our listeners a heads up on your position at Wella Professionals, Paul.
So I'm a hairdresser, trained in a salon, did an apprenticeship quite a long time ago, and joined Wella in 2000 as part of their education team. Done various roles throughout Wella, but always in education. And now I'm one of 3 senior education managers that look after the education for field and the field team that deliver education across our salons.
Well, okay, thank you. And yourself, Katie?
Yeah, so like Paul, I'm also a hairdresser and I work within education in Wella, and I actually work in the studio education, so I'm a studio leader. I joined Wella in 2006, so not, we've both been with the company for a while, but my background has been in hairdressing and always in hairdressing education. It's something I'm very passionate about.
And I think that's really important for our listeners to understand, isn't it, that you both have a real pedigree in hairdressers, so you're not just in this sort of what people may perceive as a corporate role. I mean, that's important for you, I guess, Paul, to really identify with the industry.
100%. I think, like you said, Dom, it's more than a job being a hairdresser, and I think we're very passionate about our industry and about what that brings and what we do at Wella to encourage people into the industry and make it a real credible job, because it is something we're very passionate about. We work in an amazing industry. It's like no other out there.
And I think it is fair to say, and you just said that, Paul, but the industry for me as well seems like there's been a lot of changes going on, Katie. But it's... are we right to be excited with the industry right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we have seen a lot of changes, and we've seen that majorly in the last couple of years. And when you look at the types of people that enter into the hairdressing industry, we have amazing, charismatic, talented, creative people, and it's a great hub of excitement to be within.
No, absolutely. And yeah, we're going to go into that a bit more, and I'm looking forward to learning your thoughts on it and how Wella Professionals can help. But Wella Colour Higher Level Diploma. This is exciting stuff. Maybe you could just share with our listeners, Katie, what is this and what does it mean to them?
So the Wella Colour Higher Level Diploma is actually an industry first. It is degree level education specifically for hairdressers. So it's really about offering hairdressers that next step in their education journey so that they can develop those skills and study for a degree. Ultimately.
Interested to understand a bit about the journey, how we got to this.
Well, I mean, that's a really good question, because it was actually brought to us as an opportunity. So we've had one of the lecturers at Glasgow Clyde College complete her Wella Colour Expert, and on review with her manager was blown away with the amount of information in it and said, this is something that is really almost at a degree level, and we should be looking at this and talking to Wella about how can we actually get this accredited, because the amount of work is amazing. So they contacted us, we set up a meeting, and we kind of thought, really, can we get a degree out of this? And they, I suppose, working alongside them made us realise, actually, we've got something that is really, really tangible and something that we'll be able to complete with their guidance as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think then Paul, what's the word? Recruited me onto the project team, and we began the journey of working with Julie and Donna from Glasgow Clyde College in consultation with them throughout. Because what was really important was, it was about the craft and the creativity from Wella and the science topics that we've talked about, but also where we needed that support was through that academic structure, and how do we build this so it's a fully accredited, fully recognised degree level of education. And it's recognised now at the SCQF level 9, which is ordinary stroke bachelor degree level, and that is recognised throughout Europe. So anyone that wants to educate themselves to a degree level recognised throughout Europe can do so now in this industry. So it's been an amazing journey with Glasgow Clyde, and one that we hope to continue that partnership with in the future.
Why do they need this in their life, Paul?
I think, hairdressing industry, if you're not in the industry, you perceive it to be something that, it's not progressive. People see it as a kind of a dead-end job, which is completely not what we do. We make people feel amazing about themselves, but we also learning all the time. We never stop learning in our industry. And I think we want to bring that credibility. You can be progressive. You can go on to get a degree. It's about that journey and where you can take your career. You can work anywhere in the world once you're a hairdresser. You can take that trade anywhere, but it's about having that level of skill as well. Also for your clients, that's a really clear message to give back to your clients.
I think that is so right, because you would never have heard this, in the industry, and this has changed a lot. And do you have to be of a level to get onto this and to do this? Maybe you could just explain on that for us, Katie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, education is, it's something that we're very, very passionate about at Wella, and growing hairdressers' skill is hugely important to us. And so we have had the Wella Colour Expert, formerly the MCP. We actually have been delivering that for the past 25 years. It's 25 years old this year. Developed in the UK and adopted by other countries globally now as part of the pedigree, the jewel in the crown of Wella education. And very much about this, building that skill so that the Wella hairdressers feel like true colour experts in their field. So we've got about 4,500 Wella Colour experts across the UK and Ireland. So what does it mean to them now? What is their next step for this community, this community of people? And that's where the Wella Colour Higher level diploma comes in. So yes, absolutely, you've got to be a colour expert, you've got to be at that level, and now you get to embark on this new journey.
So doing this, how intense is it to take on this degree?
It's a lot of commitment. So it's an 18-month journey, ending in an actual ceremony. So you will get your degree certificate in Glasgow University, which is amazing.
I do, right? Okay, I love that. I need to just do it for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely, full cap and gown experience.
Yeah. But also, you've got to be committed. It's a degree. No one takes on a degree unless you're going to commit your time to it. So again, it takes on the 70-20-10 sort of learning experience. 20% that we will deliver, 10% that you're going to learn on the job, and then 70% of real commitment to grow that degree and create your journey to the ceremony.
In terms of our listener, and they're liking the sound of this, how can they get involved, Katie?
So we've talked about, this is a programme for Wella Colour experts. So, of course, the first step is to be qualified to a Wella Colour expert level. Then we, from the launch of the programme, we started talking about this in January. We then put on Zoom calls, Zoom classrooms, where Paul and I could speak to anyone interested about the degree, about what was involved, about the commitment that Paul's talked about, and the investment of time that somebody needs to be able to study at this level. And from that, we then sent out the applications. So we've had over 100 people already join the calls and express an interest. It's been a really popular subject to talk about. People are very excited.
So do you have to enrol at a particular time?
So yes, our enrolment's just closed now, actually. We are beginning our first programme.
So just for our listeners, we're recording this the sort of mid-August. So yeah, that lines up to when that's just closed.
Yeah, so we've just closed now because we start our first programmes across the studios in the UK in September. So the guys that join the calls, express the interest, they then had the opportunity to apply. And then we have now sent out that enrolment process, and we're just really excited to start the first course.
And in terms of the future going forward, how will somebody be able to register their interest for applying to go on this in a year's time? How do they do that?
So absolutely. So, at any point they can speak to the Wella account manager, they can speak to any of the Wella educators, or of course they can phone the Wella studios and express an interest. And then what they'll then do is be put on one of the next step up calls, which is where we talk to them about the programme. And they can do that at any point. The next enrolment's going to look like May in 2024, because, we're passionate about the level of this qualification and the integrity that it has in our community. So it's not something, it's not something that we're going to put on constantly. It's something that's going to be quite specific.
Yeah. So again, we'll put some links maybe into the show notes. Always a good idea to follow Wella Professionals UKI. Is that a good place as well?
Yeah.
Just to keep up to speed on it. But I think it brings us back really to the hook of this podcast. And I know, as both being hairdressers and very heavily involved in the industry, and I want to go into, it's not just a job. And I think that is, what's your views on a career in hairdressing, Paul?
Well, I think it's changing all the time, to be honest. And if you look at consumers and how they act now, it's completely different to maybe when I entered the industry, a while ago. So I think being a hairdresser now isn't just about being creative and skillful at what you deliver to that client. It's also everything else that encompasses it. It's about well-being. It's about diversity. It's about embracing all of those items and being able to be honest, because we have clients out there that come in with all these ideas that parabens are bad, or ammonia is bad, and they're myths, and it's being able to break those down and be honest with your client, but know you've got the knowledge to be honest with your client, about what they are. We eat half of those. That doesn't stop us eating blueberries, but we need to now let them understand that and why.
And I guess hearing you say that, and Katie, do you think there is this perception as the consumer that they're not getting what our industry is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. You can talk to people who have come to work in our industry who expected it to be completely different than what it actually is. But I think the role of the hairdresser now is so different than it used to be. Picking up on talking about being ingredient conscious and about understanding that what your clients are going to ask for now, you need to be at the top of your game and at the top of your knowledge to be able to respond to those questions, whether it be about ingredients, clean beauty, vegan. I think hairdressers now are also responsible to safeguard their clients. What role does the salon play within the local community? What is our responsibility within that community, and what services do we provide? And I think safeguarding is really important for the clients, but also for the team of people that we're working with. And with that comes, what is our responsibility towards mental and physical health needs? So this level of education now is where we address, yes, about being creative, yes, about having a good, sustainable, strong business, but also what, from a psychology perspective, what is our responsibility? So it's much more about the whole arena of being, a really good hairdresser and really understanding your craft.
Thank you. Yeah, that's wicked. Why? No, I'll ask it in another way for you, Paul, really. How can we get those outside of our industry to learn about all this, that this is what's going on in our industry?
I think it's a great question, Dom, and it's something we're working on at the moment and looking at, again, how broad our industry is. There's so many different roles within it as well. And like I said before, it's a career you can take anywhere. You can go and work on the cruise ships. You can take it to any country in the world, as long as you've got that skill. But I think people don't understand how much you need to learn and how much you continue to learn to be in the industry. And if we
Amen.
can share that, we've even get to the careers advisors in school, because that's where it starts. It starts at school. And if we can show them that this is now a credible industry, you know, you can be a very good businessman, you know, and do really well if that's where you want to end up. Or you can be, you know, styling the star's hair if that's the direction you want to take him. But to show them it's more than standing behind a chair, 9 to 5, talking about holidays.
Can Wella help us amplify that message? Is there ways that we can amplify this?
Well, you know, that is the whole reason for the Wella Colour Higher level diploma, isn't it? Because it's about recognising the skills and the level of experience that hairdressers need to have, and getting that message out into those academic areas, you know, to talk to parents, to talk to schools advisors, to say, this is a credible career choice for you.
I get excited when I hear that. But why do you feel then that our industry doesn't always get the kudos, Paul? I see you both look sort of laughing, because it is a big question. I hear you saying it, Katie. I hear you saying it, Paul. I hear us all saying this before we sat in here. But yet there's still this big underlying white elephant in the room that our industry is not getting the right branded message that we need to be saying about it.
I mean, I think the schools are under a lot of pressure to keep the kids in education anyway, aren't they? So, you know, they've got to either keep them in A-levels or direct them to college, and ultimately they want everybody to go to university. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're talking about a degree now anyway, but not everybody wants that same journey. You know, there are some really creative people out there that don't enter our industry because they kind of put off from the beginning of the careers talk that it's not going to take them anywhere. And that's the message we need to get over, especially more so, like you said, to the parents, because the parents also don't see it. If we can share that with the parents, and automatically, you know, it allows that child to look into what are the opportunities in the industry.
Do you think we're also missing, though, and I'll put this to you, Katie, and thank you, Paul, I get that, but we keep talking about school leavers. Should we be looking away from school leavers? Are we missing something here, that there's a bigger group of people that could be really attracted and pulled into our industry? Yeah,
absolutely. And I actually worked for a college before I joined Wella, teaching hairdressers, and quite often we got people who would have loved to have joined the industry at school level but were actually put off. But now they've decided a couple of years later into life that actually no, they really wanted to do hairdressing as a subject, and now they're going to go back and do it. And I know that lots of establishments now offer evening classes where you can start to get a taste of what it's like to be a hairdresser. So we do have lots of people from different generations who want to be part of the community, when I think they've probably built that confidence level for themselves to go out and do it, and go against that initial advice maybe.
Diversity as well. I think that's got to be important, isn't it? All kind of backgrounds.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, you know, people don't see that, do they? Because, you know, a lot of salons specialise in one area, but there's all that out there to be, you know, to be a bigger scope of different things. And yeah, as a manufacturer, we make hair colour. We make hair colour for hair. It just depends on what type of hair you're using it on to how you use it. So I think, you know, there is a big pull on diversity out there. We are a very diverse nation, and we're very proud of that. And I think, you know, as a hairdressing industry, we do embrace it. But again, nobody sees that. You know, it's another hidden gem within our, you know, our passion.
Was you going to say something there, Katie?
I was just on the whole diversity. I actually personally believe that hairdressing is the most diverse industry. You know, we, as Paul said, speak to everybody. We colour hair, regardless of where you're from, and the education that we deliver is exactly the same. You know, especially from a studio network, whatever avenue that you've come through in the industry, we educate hairdressers, and that's what we do. And I think that speaks to diversity. Now,
you're both senior figures in education. Yeah, one of the biggest colour brand in the world. And I'm going to put this question to you, and I spoke to Kosakas about it, he had big views about British young people coming into the industry. He felt that there was a problem there with the training time, the length of training. Would you be happy to maybe give your thoughts on, how long we should be training for? Should we be looking at a different way of training to, again, making this more attractive to people coming into the industry? It's a big question, I know. Would you feel happy to answer that?
Yeah, I can go for that. I think, when I studied in hairdressing, my qualification was 3 years and it was full time in college. And it was actually, I think it was 3 days a week. So I was able then to get a job part time in a salon to then build up my experience. But I think, colleges have a specific criteria naturally that they need to teach. And I think that's where Wella Education comes in. And that's what's so important to us, because once you've completed that college journey, now we have the foundations to continue to build on the skill that you're going to gain. So whether that be in specific techniques, if you want to be specialists in certain area, you want to be blonde specialists, you want to be a balayage specialist, to say the word. You want to be a colour genius.
Love
there
that.
are technique and there are development pathways now where you can educate yourself continuously. And when you've been in the industry behind the chair for 5 years and you're colouring on a day-to-day basis and you love it, then you invest and become a Wella Colour expert.
Because the training is that starting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you just beautifully explained. And I think that's important, isn't it, Paul, for people to understand that you can keep evolving and you learn the basics in our training, but then having like Wella Professionals there that you can do this ongoing training and the courses has got to be really attractive, and for people to know that they can do that, and salon owners to know that they can do that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my journey into hairdressing was different to Katie's, because I was in a salon and I had to do a day release at college. And my employer was very much into education. So we used to visit the Wella Studios, then in Euston Road, once a month and really get inspired by all the people that were around us. That led to us wanting to develop further as well. And I think that was the biggest key for me when I was learning, to be seeing these people up close, up and coming people as well. And I'm not talking about the big stars of the time, but it inspired you to want to learn more. It gave you that hunger. Now, I didn't do my level 3 until a few years after, but we still did. And I think that it almost wanted to sort of part the academic stuff and get the inspiration and learn the craft, and then go back and finish my level 3, which again led me into more courses and different things. And again, that's what we offer at Wella. It's about growing the skill of the individual and inspiring that individual, as well as the salon team.
What I love is actually we're free hairdressers.
Yeah.
All sat here
Yeah.
with headphones on, me in a pod studio, and we're talking about this. But your journeys have been great. But I think what's so important is that these roles that we can all niche out, and the industry for me has never had so many different avenues. And you touched upon it, Cruz. But now content creators, there is career to be made out of content creators. Brands like Wella Professionals, you're working with some of the real hair heroes out there, Katie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen this shift towards more and more hairdressers showcasing their skills online in social media. And it's been absolutely amazing for our industry, because actually it does show a different side to what perhaps clients have seen by going in the salons or going to the hairdresser. And what stylists are able to do now is they're able to really say, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I do really well. Come and see me if you want this kind of look. And I think that's been really exciting for our industry. So it's a new way of learning craft. And it also means that you've got, 24/7 education as well. So you can go, I love that. How do I learn how to do that? And you can watch people perform that skill. And I think that's only going to grow across the whole industry. It's only going to help to build skill, regardless of whether it's a Wella education course or it's an online education course or it's a snippet that you've watched on social media. It's all about building and developing the services that you offer.
I think it's about building the community as well. I think now we've got social media, that community is in touch with each other. It's amazing. They can ask each other questions and they're building all the time.
And we've seen that as well with Wella, haven't we? There's the Wella Red
Yes.
Club as well. And that's a real community, isn't it? Business hub. And that's what I'm thinking I'm getting really excited by with Wella Professionals is you're recognising the changes and what's going on in the industry. And I think that that's important for people to know.
Oh, 100%. And I think things like the Red Club have been really key, especially coming out of COVID. You know, we were all kind of worried for us, you know, for a certain point of not really knowing where we were going to come out and what it was going to do to business. And obviously, we've missed that face-to-face interaction. And that was really key for us when we built in the Red Club, to be able to bring people together regionally, but also in a digital way, so build that bigger community, but to share from one another, you know, and learn from each other's experience.
100%.
You know, learn that they've all got probably the same issues, maybe with recruitment or, you know, retaining staff. And I think that's been really, really great for us to learn from them as well.
And I think that's what's really great as well, is there are so many cogs, and I feel like I've been in many of these cogs, and I love that, because I feel like, you know, we're sending people in different directions. And, you know, you talk about the Wella Club, Wella Hero, the college platform. I mean, so we're starting at different levels here.
I think
that's great.
I think what's really exciting about Wella, and you know, I personally feel this from working for Wella, is it's about giving back to the industry. Yeah. You know, that's really, really important and really at the core of everything we do. It's not just about selling a product. It's about selling the very best product, but also it's about, okay, how can we support and influence the industry? How can we support with recruitment? How can we bring more people into the industry? How can we make it a credible career choice? How can we retain people? You know, how do we continue to support, to build the very best hairdressers that go on to become, you know, hair heroes and podcasters?
I know, mental, isn't it?
There's so many different environments to go into.
Mental, yeah.
So to be part of that person's journey and support them is what is really powerful, I think, about what we do. It's not just about selling the product.
100%. And I think that bit about supporting them, you know, it's about, we want them to be the best hairdresser they can be. And we can't be touching every single stylist. But if we can give them an opportunity to touch Wella and we can help them, then that's fantastic. And that's where Hero came from, because we wanted something for the students and for the lecturers that they both had, that they can use as tools to grow and understand and learn more from our business. And obviously, Dom, you were a part of that with some of the careers videos, which were
absolutely
fantastic
amazing
for those youngsters to understand, you know, all these different diverse people we interact with and what their roles are.
And I feel like this podcast almost wraps up all of what we're trying to talk about, is the industry. It's not just a job. And you said this, Kate, before we came into the pod shed, and you know, so I said, there you go, it's a title, because I feel that there is a problem with some people in the industry almost still feeling like they're having to hide away from that conversation. I know when I had Giannis Gamaki way back, and I talked about, you know, I'm not just a hairdresser. Yeah, because it went around this solicitor, the doctor. I guess what we're doing here and what we're talking about is changing that perception.
Yeah, it's about giving hairdressers the pride in what they do, and it's about changing the perception of the clients and people who are not in our industry to, you know, to ultimately recognise how great this industry is and what exactly we do for our clients alongside just cutting and colouring their hair. You know, what are those additional services? How do we become the very best consultant for them in how they look, but how they feel about themselves as well?
Yeah, and you touched upon it, but when you look at all those roles, now we talk about the science in hair. We have amazing people that are science, blonde specialists, grooming specialists, mental health. I mean, I've seen that blowing up in our industry as well. That, again, it's that value that we are just so much more than a hairdresser. Our empathy and our skills, Paul, that is incredibly powerful.
I think to be a hairdresser, you learn to be emotionally intelligent. You learn to understand people. You learn to read their body language. You learn to see what they're not saying. And I think, you know, again, those skills, I think we can encourage from these youngsters who are used to hiding behind their phones and working on their phones, and, you know, their communication's changed. But I think when they get into the hairdressing industry, we all play a part to bring them along on that journey and build their communication and their understanding. And this then leads to a stronger, better hairdresser.
I'm going to address the white elephant in the room. And we all know this, but there is that wages, money. Is that a problem for a young person?
I think it starts off as a problem, and actually is that part of why the industry doesn't have the recognition it deserves, because it's seen as a low salary starting point. And I think, you know, we probably need to talk a little bit more openly about what is relevant to pay people in this industry. And actually, if we were to change that appearance of that low salary, how would that then impact people who want to come into the industry? And I think for hairdressing, we work, you know, lots of people work on a commission structure. So it's not just the base salary, if you like. There's always this opportunity. But I think that where you start to see people develop their skills and educate themselves, that's where they start to make more money, because they were able then to offer more services to the client, to really recognise what that person needs and wants, as opposed to just doing it because they think they're going to make extra tips. You know,
I mean, you think every hairdresser is a business owner, because they all own their own column. So they're all in control of what they earn to a degree. And I think the more, like Katie said, the more we can give them the skills, the understanding, the services, the stronger that column can be, and then the stronger the overall business can be.
I got asked a really interesting question, and maybe it's one I'll ask you. I was Hair and Barber Council, and they were live, and they said to me, you know, what would you do different in starting out in hairdressing when you started out in hairdressing to what you did when you started out in hairdressing? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that really, I kind of knew what I said. I'd be interested to hear both of your answers to that question.
Can we hear what you said first?
I actually said, I investing in myself and education, I think would be the biggest thing, because I feel the more we invest in ourselves, in our education, I want to be the very best that I could be if I was going to do it. Because if I'm the very best, I could charge premium price. And if our industry is going to earn the wages that we all should be earning, then that's what it should be. So that's what I felt. It's just investing in myself better than what I maybe did.
And I think that perhaps hairdressers are apologetic for what they're charging if they don't value what they're delivering in terms of service. So actually, that's really important, isn't it? Because if you are better educated, if you are really confident in approaching that client and giving them the service that they actually need, then what you charge is part of that service. And that's when you start to, you know, build your own business successfully and start earning the salary that you actually want to do something that you love. I think it's when you're lacking confidence and perhaps lacking skill and ability that you instantly believe that you shouldn't charge that amount, and you discount it.
And I think we're quite guilty of that as an industry, aren't we? That imposter syndrome, I call it lacking confidence, but imposter syndrome is hugely prominent in our industry, Paul. And I think it's like what Katie said there. I'm going to come back to that question, not going to get out of answer it, by the way. Would you go with that you feel that confidence is maybe a problem with a lot of people in our industry?
Yeah, they do. I think they almost devalue themselves because they feel they can't charge more. And I think sometimes they're more empathetic to their clients than they are to them and their actual selves. You know, they're running a business. And sometimes I think that bridge between a client and a friend kind of merges into one. And that's where they lose the confidence to say, no, look, I am putting my prices up. And I think that, you know, you look at some of the really successful business out there, and they do put their prices up. They're not apologetic for it, you know, and they'll do it maybe once or twice a year, but they do it in a very structured, you know, informative way, and it does not have any effect on the client whatsoever. Because as consumers, we all expect prices to go up. You know, we don't think we're still going to pay the same for a bottle of milk that we did 5 years ago. You know, automatically it should go up, but we tend to build this fog, I suppose, that we can't because we'll lose clients.
And we know, and they're my friend now as an industry.
And she can't afford it. And you're like,
and then they're going off to Barbados as they pull off in their high-end sports car.
Absolutely.
I think this is the problem. And I think maybe as an industry, this is great, by the way. And welcome into the pod shed. I love it because it really is on the sofa conversation, which is what I'm just in my flow. But this is the thing about our industry, isn't it? We've got to really go professional. We've got to really, grade this up. And I believe we're starting to make things happen. Things like these podcasts, getting representatives of Wella Professionals coming on and letting people hear that. But if you were going to start in the industry, again, what would you do differently?
It's such a tough question. I have had a brilliant career and I continue to do that. And just being involved in developing a degree for hairdressers, it speaks to that as well. So it's a really, really hard question. And it's one that I really can't answer. Give me a little bit longer.
It's a tough one. I had no prep time for this question as well.
Really
Paul, do you think it's one that you could answer?
Yeah, I suppose if I was to do anything differently, if I was to have a word with my younger self, it would be to have really taken on board some of the experience the older members of staff could have given me. The old skills that.
Love that.
I did go back and learn them, but I could have used them so much more through my journey of development into a hairdresser, because they were proper crafted, techniques. We're talking finger waves and barrel cuts. We've all done it, but at the time I was like, nah, it's not relevant. I'm still.
We all
doing my
remember that
spiral
at college,
perm.
don't we?
Yeah.
When you're at college and you remember, the roller sets. Well, am I ever going to need to use this? Why am I ever going to need to dress hair? But as we all know, trends continually change. There is a conversation I do want to have as well, and that's just a little bit, you touched upon it as well, was retaining people in the industry. I think that's something that maybe we're very good about talking, we need to come into it, but I don't feel we're retaining enough people. Katie, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that we are a long time working, so you've got to really enjoy what you do. And I think that sometimes when you've been doing something, when you've been in a craft for a long period of time, you start to get a bit of itchy feet and go, you know what, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? So it's how do you get that motivation and that inspiration back for yourself in what you do? And that was ultimately part of when we were writing the programme, and I keep coming back to it because I'm so passionate about it. But it was really about, okay, so this is this education career journey for people whereby it's not for new to industry. You've got to have been in the industry for a good enough amount of time that you understand your craft and what you're offering to your clients. It's now the time to go, okay, now is that next opportunity to take that next step in my education and really start to build that enthusiasm and that motivation and see where you can take it to that next level.
Perfect. What would you say, Paul?
Yeah, I think a bit like Katie, you get to a stage, I suppose, in your career, especially if you are still in the salon and you love the salon, it's not that, but you kind of don't see your next step. And we all get to a stage where we have itchy feet, or we want to extend our skills, or, is the grass greener outside in another career? And I think doing things like the degree actually enables you to look at our industry again in a different way, because we're looking at all these different, subjects. Again, we're looking at leadership and psychology and all these different elements that you can bring back into your role, and you can make that different again. And I think that's where we're kind of missing that, it's not just about your cutting and your colouring skills, it's about your personable skills, your leadership skills, and how you can share those and build your business and give your client an amazing experience.
And coming towards the latter part of this now, and we're so free-flowing, it's so good. But there may be people that are in the industry right now listening to this and thinking, look, I'm loving the industry, but I'm just in a place that I feel flat. I've got a salon owner who's a bit washed up. Their enthusiasm's gone. We all know those environments. Would you have any advice to that person?
Would I have any? I would say speak to your salon owner. Have a conversation with them. Are they also happy in the situation and what that salon looks like? Can they see what they want that salon to look like in the future, and how together are you going to grow that? Make yourself part of it. Maybe, rather than just walk away from something, actually ask that question. Rather than going home every evening going, I don't know if this is what I want to do, have that conversation and say, I'm not sure I'm enjoying it like I did. Are you? Are we doing the right thing? Are we, getting the right people in? Are we offering the right services? Are we passionate about what we're doing? Are we sharing it on social media? And I think it's important to express how you feel to other people, because actually they might be feeling the same. And we are a community, and it is good to talk about.
That's great advice. Love that. What about, Paul, the salon owner? We've got to talk to that salon owner who's feeling just that they're tired of bills going up, going through a pandemic, all the struggles that we all know exists for a salon owner. Would you have some great tips for them or advice?
My advice would be get involved. We, like Katie said, we're a community, aren't we? This industry is one big community, and where you're feeling flat, you could be really brought up by somebody who's been really successful and really positive. And I think where we offer things, again, like the Red Club, is fantastic for that. We've got people with real issues that come into the Red Club, and we've got someone who's already overcome those issues.
Love that.
And for us to be able to put those people together, that could reignite their love for it again, or their passion, or give their business maybe a different direction from where they were going, and really ignite that fire in their belly again.
Love it. Because we're speaking to everybody in here, aren't we? We spoke to the apprentice, the stylist, the salon owner. And I don't want to get caught up in the subject that is so talked about. But I think, and that is, people that want to work in co-working, employed, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I guess the biggest thing is that we've got an industry of choice. Mm. And that has to be a really good thing. So let's get our last thoughts. Let's kind of package all this up. I think actually I want our listener to take this away, or maybe somebody watching. What can we take away from this today, Katie, that this is not just a job?
It's not just a job. There are so many opportunities for people who want to come into the hairdressing industry. And as somebody who works for Wella, we want to support all of those people through all those different choices that they want to make as to where and how they want to work in the industry. And if it's in education, if it's in business, if it's in growing and developing their team in the salon, we want to be the perfect partner to work with those people.
Lovely. Paul?
I think for me, it would be to share how passionate our industry is with everyone around you. So for get involved in your community, not just the hairdressing community, but get involved in the community that you work in. Your clients love it. We're spreading the love of the industry that we work for. They can see how credible it is, and I think that's where we need to bring everybody along on our journey into this amazing industry we work in.
It's getting that message out there into the community. Maybe we're just going too broad. We're trying to reach everybody, but if we all just start to come together in smaller circles, that's going to be a better way maybe to do this, isn't it?
Definitely. And I mean, when we come back and look at the things like recruitment into the industry or retain, work with your local colleges, work with your local schools, get involved in the activities that are going around you with charities and things like that, because they bring you so much joy. And again, you're spreading the word of what you do and the skills that you need to be involved in.
And that's, again, really exciting for your industry. So if you're in a salon that's feeling a bit flat, not going on, maybe as a team you could all say, let's get involved in a fete that's going on. It doesn't have to cost lots of money, does it? As a salon, you could think, well, look, we need to recruit. Well, go to a fete, do some plaits and braids on a chair and a mirror, and get people excited and show that professionalism. How easy is that to do?
100%. Have an open evening in the salon where you're teaching mums how to braid the kids' hair. It could be, you can create so much fun.
That's right.
Around what you're doing.
Love it. Honestly, thank you so much, the pair of you coming into the pod shed today. It's my first time in here. It's been brilliant. Honestly, it's so good. Before we finish, we mentioned it at the start, the Wella Colour Higher level diploma. Mm-hmm. Getting involved, Katie. Is there a link that people need to know?
Yeah, so on the Wella Education page, you will find all of the information for the Wella Colour Higher Level Diploma. Industry first, recognised, fully accredited degree level education for hairdressers. You've got dates and times and commitment information on there. And of course, if you don't have access to the Wella Education page, then please just contact your local studio, Wella educator or account manager.
And there's loads of stuff going on, isn't there? Away from the degree, in terms of courses in the studio space.
Oh yeah, I mean we're adding to the courses all the time. You know, we're keeping up to date with everything to make sure that we've got everything that the industry needs to keep growing their craft and moving forward with fashion and trend.
And we're adhering to how we are recognising how different people want to learn differently. So it's not just about face-to-face education or online education. There's now blended education as well, where you can adopt whichever learning style you prefer.
Oh, there's another question there, but I think I've asked you enough questions to go. I think there'll be more of these for sure. Look, thank you, Katie Paul, for joining me. I know you've travelled down to see us, and I've really, really enjoyed it today. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us in your den.